he has no idea how that is invested like that.
All right. So just as a reminder, all of our membership meetings, recordings of them are available. You can get links through the lower disciplines, the LDP watersheds.org website. If you go to the lower discipline section, there's a tab for meetings. They're all on our Will County Watersheds YouTube channel. So if you miss a meeting in the future or want to go back to something, we get those recordings posted fairly quickly after the meeting. So we have a pretty straightforward agenda today, really just some updates on several items. So we'll likely get folks out of here fairly quickly today. Always like to show a list of our members. I would like to welcome Ineos to the membership. They joined us last month. They're the most recent new member that we have. Kind of first order of business is around the minutes. So if there's any questions on the minutes as they were presented, they're sent out yesterday. Otherwise, if I can get someone get a hand raised to a motion to accept the minutes as they were presented. We got Keith. And I might get a second for the motion to approve the minutes. I just need a second, somebody else to raise their hand to be a second on the motion. There we go, Kyle, thank you. All right, I'm gonna launch a poll. It's our only poll. Actually, I have one other poll for today. So you can just click your answer, hit submit. Okay, the motion carried, so the minutes are approved. Those minutes will get posted on the website along with when we get the recording up for the meeting. And then while we're here, I have a second poll. So we want to kind of figure out what people's kind of comfort level and interested in getting back to doing in-person meetings. Prior to the pandemic, we had been meeting down in Romeoville at the Village Hall. It's kind of a central location. So we'd likely look at going back to Romeoville in the future if that's possible. But I just wanted to kind of get a feeling from folks on kind of their comfort level, but then also, you know, is it just more convenient to do it by Zoom, and get some feedback on how we continue. Okay, so. All right, thank you. So I got kind of a mix of in-person. So most people are comfortable with coming back in person, but it looks like about at least 60% of the small group of folks we have this morning answer that they're comfortable with coming back, but more convenient doing it on Zoom. So we will kind of figure out what our next steps are for that for our May meeting. Okay, last meeting we talked a lot about the TLWQS for chloride. So this is the terminology that we're really trying to shift to. It's a whole lot easier to say chloride variants, but really trying to shift to the time limited water quality standard, or TLWQS for chloride. basically we're, still in a holding pattern with US EPA. The expectation is that they will approve the order in early April. It was provided to them, I think, like February 9th, and they had 60 days to approve or 90 days to disapprove. I don't think anyone expects that they're going to disapprove it, since they were involved throughout the whole process on it. So the expectation is that that will come out in early April. That's what starts the clock ticking. You should have received a copy of the draft permit from Illinois EPA. They sent out a draft of what that's going to look like, sort of open for comment. It wasn't real clear how they're going to take comments on it, and the text or the language in it is straight out of the order. And in our discussions that Hannah Miller and I had with IEPA back in, I think it was late February, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of interest in changing language. I wanted to keep it as close to the language in the order as possible. The plan from IEPA's standpoint was to have the permit ready to go pretty much at the same time that that US EPA would approve it. So that, again, since the clock starts ticking once US EPA approves it, to have that permit in hand as close to that date as possible. We had gone through kind of all of the details and milestones in the last meeting. I'm happy to talk through any of that stuff with anyone individually if they would like to kind of go back and review some things. But one of the first items that to do is the pollutant minimization plan. Got 6 months once the US EPA approves it to develop that plan. And the idea behind that plan, kind of looking at it as the pollutant minimization plan is what your plan is for basically implementing the various BMPs and requirements that are in, that will be in your permit within that first 5-year evaluation period. So Hannah and I, in our discussions with US EPA, kind of had a lot of questions around the PMP and the requirements of it. And basically they don't want this to be like a plan for 15 years, to really look at it at more of a plan for 5 years. And then likely your PMP will be updated at each reevaluation period, which makes sense because if there are any changes or anything that come as part of that reevaluation period, it will be worked into your PMP. So the PMP really should be the plan about, what you're, kind of a checklist of the things you're doing, but details about the things that you're planning to do. And so the idea of referring back to your snow and ice plan as much as possible, and likely your snow and ice plan being as sort of an attachment to the PMP, so that you don't have to go through kind of duplicating all of the detail of your program of things you're currently doing. But you should be able to just refer back to your snow and ice plan. So we did put together and share a template for the PMP through the Chloride Committee, kind of working in partnership with the Chicago Area Waterways Chloride Work Group. So we had a good draft put together for that. We shared that draft with IEPA. They did not have any comments on it. They definitely like the idea of having a template so that so all the PMPs will have some consistency. We did express the fact that this is meant to be a template, and we have no ability or intention to force people to do it in any one way, or that it has to be done exactly this way. Really, the framework is there to make sure you're hitting all of the points in there. Again, trying to keep it a pretty straightforward plug and chug kind of document. So we're making a couple of adjustments to the template based on comments from both our Chloride Committee and some of the members of the Chicago Area Waterways Chloride Work Group. And also, I think we're going to split the template up so that there's a specific template for MS4s and a specific template for industrial dischargers and salt storage. We kind of had everything lumped into one template to begin with, and kind of like delete this section if this doesn't apply to you. We're just going to take those parts out, just separate it into 3 different ones, and then make it available to folks so that it's just real, hopefully easy. All right. So we should have that template out and available to folks fairly soon. There we go. One of the other things that we've been discussing, and particularly within the Chicago Area Waterways Chloride group, is to work on some kind of workshops, mentoring sessions, just ways to share information across organizations and be able to sort of share experience. We're looking at probably doing 3 to 4 topics per year. We'd open them up to, at least initially, to all of the communities or entities participating in the TLWQS, but likely, we'll just have it open to all member communities to participate. The first one is going to be somewhat of a deep dive into what's going to be in the permit. So we're waiting until the permit actually comes out, but to really get into what all those details are. This process has been going on for many years, and staff have changed, people have changed, and I know we've been talking about it more, and I think most of our communities are pretty on board with what the requirements are. But I know particularly within the cause, there are a number of communities who, I think with staff changes or attorney changes, or a lot of these conversations happening amongst attorneys versus amongst the public works folks, some of this stuff is a little surprising, like what exactly did we sign ourselves onto? So we want to make sure that we get those details out, answer questions, and really make sure people understand, what the requirements are. So we're looking to hold that first one likely in early May, and probably at a couple of locations, since we're partnering with Chicago Area Waterways in a very large area. So trying to find 2 or 3 different locations where it'll be same presentation, but just different locations to make it easy for people to attend. But overall, I have some of the other topics that we're thinking about is, that these really would be kind of sharing information amongst communities, sharing experiences. We definitely have communities at different levels of implementation of different parts of the program. So want to be able to share that information and experience across the board. So that's kind of the list of topics that we're looking at. So getting sort of the basic requirements out of the way right away. Probably doing a couple of different workshops on calibration. So trying to make sure we have a variety of different types of equipment, and probably advertise those all together so that based on the type of equipment that you may have, if you're interested in doing participating in that you can find something that is similar to the equipment that you're using. We'll likely do a working session on putting together the PMPs for anyone who's interested in that. And then probably one of the other first things is beyond the PMP, one of the next items is really developing a way to, I guess within the first year, to have looking at that you are implementing and using application rates based on weather and pavement temperature conditions. You have the rates are different based on those conditions. So we'll have some discussions around that. And then we have our annual training workshops that we've been holding for the last number of years, planned for September and October. So I included a copy of the sort of save the date flyer as part of the meeting packet and put it in the email that went out. but we do have these dates locked in. They will be virtual again this year, working with Fortin Consulting, so similar to the workshops that have been done in the past. We haven't figured out pricing yet, but it'll likely be very similar to what it was last year, somewhere in that $45, $50 range of registering. You need one registration per workshop, and then you can share that link with all of your staff. So we'll keep that information out there so people can make sure they get these on their calendar. And registration will likely open up sometime probably late July, early August. The last item that we've been working on as far as the TLWQS goes is a documentation template. I know Hannah had gotten some other comments in from folks, and so she's updating some things on that. And then we'll share that again through. We have a chloride committee meeting coming up in April 19th. So we'll probably do a final review of that and the PMP template, and then make that stuff available out to all of the petitioners. Okay, moving on. So each year, I've been putting together an annual report for the specific special condition that all of our NPDES permittees have in their wastewater permits. It's the number of it changes based on the permit, but basically there's language in there about participating in the work group and about the bioassessment monitoring program, and allows us to work on the NARP together. And so each year I've been putting together this report, and then I will send it to IEPA on behalf of all of our petitioners as a single report. I'll also provide a copy of it to all of the permittees so you have it for your records. And then it also gets posted onto the website. And so within our lower disciplines section, we have our page that's labeled Our Work. And it has the kind of the different things that our organization works on, and we have a reports and resources section. It gets posted there. I should have it done this afternoon. I'm just, Nancy is reviewing it just for some grammar and things like that. So she just got it back to me. I'm gonna make a few edits, and I should have that complete and sent out to IEPA either this afternoon or definitely by tomorrow, and I will forward on a copy to everyone else. And most of what's in there really is, because I have the specific text out of your permit. To start out with, it lists out all of the permittees that are covered under this. And then it really is the details of our bioassessment program. And we don't have our report yet done from MBI, but I was able to get a few summary tables to include for this report. And we should have a draft report from MBI by early summer for the main stem, and I believe for Hickory Creek. The second report that I do at this time of year is a summary of our outreach activities for the MS4 ILR 40 permit. These I will send directly to you, our members, communities, our MS4 entities, for you to include in your MS4 report. So I won't be sending this one to IEPA. This will really just be an addendum or attachment to your own MS4 report. Those also should go out later today. So I'll be sending those to you, and they will also get posted on that same page on our website. So this really summarizes all of our outreach activities. So the work that we did expanding, redoing the website last year, the new information that's available on the website. All of our outreach materials are summarized, the winter de-icing workshops, and then the fecal coliform sampling that we've been doing each year. I guess it was in early mid-February, Illinois EPA put out the new integrated report, so 305B, 303D report out for public review and comment. So I went through and reviewed any of the changes that were made for the segments within our watershed area. And so I've noted just the changes, kind of, I guess, sort of major, not major changes, just the changes in listing. So for the main, these are our main stem segments. I put together a map there to show where those segments are because they don't go in or number order. So it kind of skips around order-wise. So just to kind of give you an idea where those segments are. So basically these are causes related to aquatic life. For the most part, there was one related to primary contact, but basically cause unknown and nitrogen were added to G15 as causes for impairment, and chloride and DO were removed as causes for impairment. All of the causes that were removed based on data that IEPA collected between 2015 and 2019, and they did not have exceedances of water quality standards during that time period. So in this case for chloride or DO on G15, and then, you know, kind of look through each of the other ones. So we had the cause unknown is a really broad one, but at the same time, one of the kind of nice things about cause unknown is that it doesn't tie us to any particular thing to focus on from a sort of permit or regulatory aspect. So it kind of, I guess in talking to Dina on this stuff, she's like, I'd rather have cause unknown listed versus a particular pollutant, you know, that may, you know, drive some of the permit related requirements. So I think it was a change. Yeah, definitely it was a change for this year, the G12 and G24. So those are the two lowest segments here in the watersheds. I believe this is from the Brandon lock downstream. Have remained in full support. So I don't think there was any change there, but those are still fully supporting aquatic life. So that's a good thing. Otherwise, like as far as support goes, the only thing that did change was fecal coliform was removed from G11. So now it is in full support for primary contact. Otherwise, as far as use support goes, none of these changed. And then for the tributary changes, so there's a whole number of segments that are in the report that just there was no change, so I didn't list them here. And the changes here of note, Jackson branch, nitrogen was added as a cause for aquatic life use impairment. Highlight on Hickory Creek, G04 and 06. It's kind of a middle section, are now fully supporting aquatic life use and aesthetic quality. On G22, this is the upper portion, I believe, of Hickory Creek. The cause unknown was added, but chloride, DO, pH were removed as causes of impairment. For the Frankfurt Trib, nitrogen was added as a cause of impairment. Salt Creek or Sawmill Creek stream alteration was removed as an impairment or cause of impairment. And for Willow Creek, cadmium and DO were added as causes of impairment. I did put together a list of comments that I sent into IEPA, mostly related to for the causes that were removed on the in one appendix were not necessarily reflected in Appendix A, which is the 305B report. So those causes, although they were removed because there was no data to support them, they're still listed as a cause of impairment on Appendix A, the 305B part of the report. So just trying to get those cleaned up. And then a comment about methoxychlor, which is we have many sites, particularly on the main stem, listed for methoxychlor, and it's found in sediments, but methoxychlor is not listed as a cause for aquatic life impairments. It's listed as an issue related to like drinking water sources, and none of our segments are listed as a drinking water use. And so, this is a legacy pollutant, and just trying to figure out when IEPA is going to start removing those from the listings. So that's pretty much the summary of the comments that were submitted. I do have a full Excel spreadsheet table with all of our segments within the watershed that are listed on the 305B report, and kind of a nice summary of causes for impairments, things that are listed as 303D impairments, use support, whether it's aquatic, aesthetic, fish consumption, and primary contact, and then changes, what changed from the 2018 report to the 2020-2022 report. If anybody's interested in that table, contact me and I can provide you a copy of it. I don't have a whole lot to say specifically about the NARP at this point. I shared this slide at our meeting in January. The one thing I did want to mention related to the IPS model. So through the IPS model, a target for phosphorus, the benchmark for phosphorus that was identified at 0.28 milligrams per liter. And so that's likely the target that we would be looking at using in the NARP. And some of the work that DRCW and Lower DuPage are jointly working on, they're doing Qual 2 KW models for the East Branch, the West Branch, and the main stem DuPage, as well as Salt Creek. And part of the model runs that they're doing are looking at that 0.28 number. And doing it under a number of different scenarios with wastewater inputs. We really don't, it'd be very difficult to do Qual 2K models on any portions of our tributary streams. We don't have enough dissolved oxygen data really to do those, besides the fact that they're really expensive and we have lots of tributaries. But there is a lot to learn from what DRCW and Lower DuPage are doing and how that number would likely relate to our tributaries. So the DRCW is holding their projects committee meeting on April 12th at 9:30. There's going to be a detailed presentation by Tetra Tech, who's doing that Qual 2K modeling. The model runs, how they set them up, and really getting into the weeds on that. If that is something that you'd be interested in participating, let me know, and I can get an invitation for that Zoom meeting sent to you. And then at the DRCW member meeting on April 27th, also the Zoom meeting, there's going to be more of an overview presentation given by Tetra Tech. So not so much in the weeds, really just focusing on kind of the results that we're likely going to go forward with. So if you're interested in either of those meetings, let me know, and I can send you the registration information for those. But this is really would be particular the meeting on the 12th, really geared towards any of the treatment plant operators, particularly on the tributaries, because this 0.28 number would be part of the NARP for the tributaries. And the reason for that, which we've discussed in the past, is the IPS model was developed for drainage areas, I think less than 350 square miles. So basically wadeable streams, all the data that went into it was from wadeable streams. So it's really not directly applicable to the main stem because the drainage area is too large. So this number initially will be really focused on those tributaries. So again, let me know if that's something that you're interested in attending, and I'll get invites for you. And the last part of the meeting, really looking, just summarizing the outreach materials that we have available. Normally Leah is on with us for this, but she is off today. So I'm gonna go ahead and share her materials. So at the bottom of all of our pages on the website, if you scroll down to the bottom to this black section, you can click on the outreach materials. Doesn't matter which one, it all takes you to the same page. If you go to ldwwatersheds.org/outreach, it'll take you to this page. So several different ways to get there. From our work page, you can get here. But this is where all of our outreach materials are. So we sent out spring materials back in January, I believe. But now it's finally spring. So just a reminder of the materials that we did put up there for spring. One of the things that we worked on for both spring and some of the summer topics was looking back through the MS for ILR 40 permit. There's some specific outreach topics that are listed in that permit. And there were a couple of them on that list that we didn't have any materials for. So we're working on filling some of those gaps. So particularly about like the like proper paint disposal or household hazardous waste type disposal, fluids leaking from your vehicles. And then I think we'll get to the one in the summer on like car washing. So those were things specifically called out in the ILR 40 permit. So we're again filling those gaps. So for spring, we have materials kind of following up on our garden refresh project from last year, kind of encouraging people to utilize native plants to help infiltrate and filter stormwater, and more just environmentally friendly landscaping. Again, focused on the vehicle leaks, proper paint disposal. So we have articles and social media posts on that. We have blog posts that are up there. So materials for summer was looking at at-home car washing, starting to talk about green infrastructure. We're going to have a lot of materials this summer that'll continue throughout the summer on being river responsible. So looking at, as residents and people participating in kayaking and canoeing and things down the river, about how to be respectful and responsible along the river with private landowners along the way, others using the river, but also respecting the river itself. Talking about obviously not dumping any litter while you're out there, but participating in river cleanups and things like that. And so we'll be kind of sharing materials on that throughout the summer. Green infrastructure, we started out as sort of a overarching overview of what green infrastructure is. And then we plan on adding materials on specific types of green infrastructure, things that we don't cover yet already. And then we have, continuing information on rain barrels and rain barrel sale programs. So some of the graphics that Leah's been working on, we have a lot of materials we are working with a number of communities to do rain barrel sale programs. The Conservation Foundation coordinates a rain barrel sale program, and we've been working with a number of communities to help get them set up in your community. But then we also have a lot of outreach resources, to share with your residents, particularly if you're going to do a rain barrel sale. Excuse me. And then just a reminder from last year, we still do have pet waste signs available. We've worked with a number of communities and park districts to get these up along trails. We've also worked with a number of homeowners associations. So anybody who has, trails through parts of your community, we're happy to provide these signs. So basically, all we ask in return is for pictures of the posted signs, and then if your organization has the capacity to do some social media, to use some of our social media outreach. Some of the HOAs that we work with don't have that capability, so just getting the signs up has been useful. And then just some of our normal messages. If you haven't liked us on Facebook yet, please do so. This is a great way to just share or link to posts that we've been putting up. If you're not as active, putting up your own, kind of related to that MS4 report that I'm putting together. So I'll be providing the vast majority of things that we've done. But internally, if you've been using any of our outreach materials, those are things you should be including in your MS report specifically. And then again, we have the Will County Watersheds YouTube channel. Links to all of the meetings are available through the website as well on the member meeting page, or you can just go to the YouTube channel and find recordings of past meetings and things like that. And then the last, just a kind of reminder, if you're interested in either the projects committee or the DRSCW member meeting information, let me know. We will be holding our next Chloride committee meeting April 19th. That'll again be Zoom. I do have a pretty good list of folks participating on that committee. If you are not one of them and you are interested in participating, just let me know and I can include you on the information that goes out for those meetings. And then our next meeting will be on May 26th, and let folks know as soon as we figure out whether that'll be in person or whether it'll be still be a Zoom. So if anybody has any questions, things they want to bring up, things they want to share, please go ahead, just unmute yourself. Otherwise, that is all I have for today. All right. Thank you, everybody, anybody else? Sorry.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate, and we all appreciate the update and all the work that the Watershed group does. So I can't vote, but I can appreciate the information. So thank you for everything you guys do.
All right. Thanks, Nikki. All right. Well, everybody enjoy spring as it seems to finally be springing. So enjoy the nice weather it looks like we're going to have for the weekend. And I will see everybody either at our next Chloride committee meeting or in May for the next member meeting. Thank you.